mail, motherfucker.
What is going on, everyone? Hello, and welcome to Ask the King. Or I should say return. The return of Ask the King. It's been a while. The last one I did, I believe, was in early July. And so we were planning on doing this probably in early September, but here we are at the very tail end of September. Only because of timing constraints of things. It didn't really make sense to do one earlier in the month when I was juggling other stuff. Now things have definitely slowed down. I said, let's do it. As you know, Ask the King is my bi-monthly Q&A show where I answer your questions. Now, over the last year or so, since I returned back to YouTube full-time, things have changed a bit. Basically, I get a lot of questions now from my channel members, those of you who are active members of my community and who have all those cool benefits of becoming a paid member. And I appreciate those who support this channel in many ways. You guys are the vast majority of questions that I now answer on the show, okay? However, there's still open questions. I'm going to answer a few of those today. And there's a few Twitter questions as well that I grabbed. If time permits, we may take some questions out of the stream chat, but I particularly appreciate those who submit their questions early because that gives me time to review them early, get better answers for you, and that's how the show works. Now, this is episode 92. We're almost hitting episode 100. Can you believe that? If things go the way they're going, next year we should hit episode 100. The 100 episode anniversary of Ask the King. That's going to be pretty crazy to think about maybe doing something special for that, all right? But all that being said, the next episode is tentatively scheduled for November 24th, 2022, all right? For those who don't know, that's Thanksgiving here in the United States, all right? So it's a national holiday, and likely what I will do is the only content I'll do that day is Ask the King. I'll just sit here and I'll do an Ask the King episode, and that's it. While Kat will likely be making us a delicious dinner, which I can't wait for. I love her Thanksgiving cooking. And that's a nice way to do it. I actually have not, I have not done that in years. It was actually Derek's here today, and he was reviewing my history of Ask the Kings. He's like, the last time you did a Thanksgiving special for Ask the King was 2019, but since then you never did one in November. I'm like, well, I think I will do one this year. I think that would be pretty neat to do one this year. Okay? So, I'm excited, and if you are interested in getting your question answered on the next show, I've already set it up. You can type exclamation point Ask the King into the stream chat. It'll bring up the link to go to DSPGaming.com and post up your questions early. Or you can just go to the website yourself. If you're not watching this live on stream, you're watching on demand. You just go to DSPGaming.com. The thread's already there under the Ask the King section. Okay? Now, excuse me. I received another $5 tip from this anonymous tipper. I had read their ridiculous, over-the-top dick joke that they included with their previous tip, and they said, here's another $5 for doing that. So thank you for that. I appreciate that support. One quick reminder for Ask the King. I'm already wearing a hat. As you guys know, typically when I hit $100 in tips, I put on a hat on my streams now, but I'm already wearing a hat for Ask the King. So if we get $100 in tips, you guys get to choose, do you want me to keep this hat on, or should I change it out? All right? It's up to you. I'll give you the choice. Of course, as usual, if we hit the full tips goal, then we'll have a vest come into play as well. All right. All right. Without further ado, I feel like we should jump into the show. By the way, Jasper Katie is very active today. The fall has hit here in Washington State. It's nice and cool outside, which means my window is open, and it means that the air is coming in. Jasper, whenever he feels fresh air in the house, he gets hyper. He's running all over the house today. So you might hear him running up and down the halls. You hear the bell jingling. He might jump on the chair. Expect some silly Jasper antics today. He's doing it right now. He's running up and down the hallway. So, okay. Let's get started. So, I almost never mention this, but I will mention it today because it actually is pertinent. As you guys know, I have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/DarkSidePhil. People who pledge to my Patreon earn perks. Some of the cool perks that you can earn are getting a private video made. And in recent months, we've had some people who have requested not the old style Q&A videos that I used to make, but actually some private react videos. These are videos where I'm reacting to content they're specifically requesting me to react to. So I've been doing these, and they've actually caught on. People seem to like them. So now I had 4 different ones this month. But the thing is, when you pledge $50 to my Patreon, you also qualify for all of the tiers underneath. I don't think a lot of people realize that. So one of the tiers underneath the private video is to get your question answered on this show, guaranteed. So one person took advantage of it this month, Slayer. Slayer recently has been purchasing these private React videos for topics such as K-pop music videos that I've been reacting to, as well as some other stuff recently as well. That was Jasper running in the office, if you're wondering what that noise was. He just jumped in the window. He's having fun. So, that being said, let's see what he has to ask, because he took advantage and he has 2 questions for us this month, okay? So the first question from Slayer. Seeing that you have watched the video of K-pop girl group concepts on Patreon, which is public, so I guess what he's saying is, hint, hint, the video is public. He uploads it to his YouTube channel. You can check it out if you want. I wonder what your thoughts are on the different types of concepts that are shown on K-pop as compared to American pop artists in the U.S. Do you think that these concepts are interesting and unique? Do you think American pop showcases a diverse type of music and concepts, or do you think that it's limited to a few of the same concepts? All right. First of all, I got to preface this because you have no idea what he's talking about. He had me react to a 20 or so minute video, and what this video did is it outlined categories under which K-pop musicians make music. And it was things such as cute, fun, strong or strength or fierce, like almost like badass, like tough, like deep mental anguish kind of stuff, like sad stories or emotional stories. I'm trying to remember all of them because there was like 9 categories. There was a ton of them, okay? And essentially, what this video broke down, which is kind of interesting, is that they literally go by these categories. You could take any K-pop pop song and look at how they're acting, how they dance in the video, how the lyrics sound, how the music sounds, how the artistry and the shooting of the videos is, and they all fit into these categories. One of them was actually like horror themed, which was kind of neat. They actually had things that were like watching a horror movie, but it was a music video. So I'm watching these, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of interesting, because I was thinking back to the 1990s when I used to follow pop music. I don't anymore. Okay, I'm older. Ever since the 2000s, I stopped. I haven't really actively followed new pop music or anything in a very long time. Okay. But when I used to watch pop music in the 90s, it was hot because of MTV and a little show that was called Total Request Live. Anyone remember that show? What this was before the era where all music was just on the fucking internet for free. You basically had to go to MTV, and every day you would call in and people would vote. I want this music video played. I want this music video played on the show. And so you would watch TRL, and there would be musicians and artists and celebrities on the show as guests, and then they would play a countdown of like 10 of the most requested music videos of the day. All right? Think about how back in the day, they used to do like the Billboard Top 100 on the radio. So essentially this was that, but on TV. And when I used to watch pop music back then, I definitely saw categories, okay? There was kind of like, definitely like cutesy girl pop, which was more like the early Britney Spears, where she's a schoolgirl dancing around a school, and it was supposed to be like a cutesy teenager kind of a song. But then there was the way over the top, more sexualized stuff, half-naked women dancing around. And by the way, I will definitely say this. American music, even in the 90s, the American pop music was way more sexualized than anything that I've seen or that Slayer has had me react to in the K-pop stuff. I mean, the K-pop girls are very conservative compared to the shit that they used to do in the United States. I mean, they would be completely almost nude, water pouring down on their bodies, oil squirting everywhere. Like, what the fuck am I watching? And this was allowed on TV. Kids were watching this constantly. This is what was on TV back in the day. So they're way more conservative over there. But what I would definitely say is, although you could categorize it, it was more generalized categories. Like the boy bands would have one song where it's like an angsty song about an emotional relationship, but then they'd have an upbeat song where they're all dancing, and, you know, but it wasn't like as many as K-pop. And definitely what I'd say is there was a lot less, because and this is actually said in the K-pop react video that I did, is that there was no industry established in the 1990s to have pop groups be pumped out and manufactured en masse. There was no idol culture like there is in Korea, like there is in Japan. It was very different here in the United States. You were lucky if you were getting into a group like NSYNC or, excuse me, the Backstreet Boys or 98 Degrees, and you actually made it. There were tons of people who tried, and they all failed. Very few got any kind of prominence and featuring on something like Total Request Live, you see? And there certainly was no system of manufacturing that style of group. In Korea, there is. In Korea, they have a whole cultural industry based on you bring these kids up, you train them to dance, you train them to sing. They have to interact in a group. They can't be in relationships because that destroys the air of mystery around could you possibly be in a relationship with these people who are dancing and singing on your TV. Of course you can't, stupid, but it's part of their culture to believe you can. It's really different from anything that we have here in the United States from what I can see. But no, I would say from in the 90s, I didn't see many parallels, like very few. You know, in the 90s, for example, you would turn on your TV to watch pop music and it would be like Sum 41 paired with like Soundgarden, but then there would be fucking NSYNC and Christina Aguilera, but then there'd be like, you know, R&B and hip hop too, like Dr. Dre or Snoop Dogg or Eminem, but then you'd have like pure R&B. You're like, damn, so you have like 10 different categories of music, but it's all considered pop music. Well, when you look at K-pop, it's all almost the same. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't categorize, and by the way, they also seem to be crossover. And what I mean by that is a K-pop group will do a song that has hip-hop in it, but then they'll do a song that's a power ballad, but then they'll do a song that's poppy and cutesy for the summer, and it's all the same group. While in America, at least, if you were an alternative rock group, all you did was alternative rock. If you were R&B, all you would do is R&B. You would never really jump genre to genre like it seems like the K-pop groups do. So I would say that's a lot of different things culturally from our countries and the way that things work for sure. So there you go. The second question Slayer presents. He says, you recently watched a highly edited review as part of Patreon, as well as about Cyberpunk 2077. So if you don't know what this is, he had me react to a video from a guy, I think his name is Maxor, and he's a YouTuber who does what's called incorrect reviews. He does a review of a game, and literally half the shit he says is wrong, but then he actually pairs it with everything that's correct about it. But it's interesting because he interjects really quick jokes and things, quick edits, jump cuts and things between jokes and memes and things. It's very funny, but at the very same time, he puts so much into it that's very hard to follow. You actually have to like pause and think about half the stuff going on, because sometimes he'll do 10 of them in like 20 seconds. You're like, what did I just see? I saw Rick and Morty, the Nostalgia Critic, something political, a joke from a sitcom, you know, a couple game memes. Like, damn, it all came out of nowhere. And now I have to like process what I just saw because it came so fast. So I think it's interesting. And I actually had a really good time watching the video. I found it very entertaining. But I also found the guy was very intelligent. He literally hit upon a lot of the points that I made in my review of Cyberpunk, but also had this crazy funny edge to this review as well that I really enjoy. So anyway, that's what he's talking about. Okay, so he says, so his review was super fast and had edits with multiple jokes and references. Some people enjoy that video style, but some find it too fast and confusing, and if they say it'll give them headaches. Do you enjoy it? Do you think that this kind of review style is enjoyable, or do you think it's too all over the place to really like? I liked it, but definitely that's the kind of thing that what was I going to say? Oh, I definitely think that's the kind of thing that if I'm going to watch it, I would want to sit down and analyze like I did in that react. I don't know if I would casually just want to watch it because you're going to miss half the shit. You know what I'm saying? Because he's very smart with the way that he interjects all those references. And I did enjoy the quality of what he put out. But I don't know if I would just sit there and watch his stuff raw. I might sit there and be like, okay, there's a new Maxor video out today. Time to spend an hour on this thing. Trying to, you know? But that's a good thing, you know? And by the way, Slayer had actually said to me, would you consider doing reacting to Maxor? Like, would you ask Maxor for permission and maybe react to his channel one day? I said, well, let me look into it. Maxor has closed DMs on Twitter, has absolutely no contact information whatsoever on his YouTube or Twitter account. You cannot reach the guy. So I guess the guy just doesn't want to be touched or you know, reached, which I respect completely. If he just wants to make his videos, that's all he cares about, I'm down for that. I get that. I want privacy in my life too. And basically, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to do anything here on my channels about that, like with him, unless I get permission. And it looks like there's no way to get permission because he's just not reachable. So there you go. That's correct. He's a recluse. I heard he actually lives up in the mountains of Tibet, and he lives with the monks. That's what I heard. Maybe it's a rumor. Okay. Thank you, Slayer, for your ongoing support of my channel and my content, and thank you for your questions. Now let's move on. The next questions, all right? The next questions are from members exclusively. People who are members here on DSP Gaming and posted up their questions in the thread that I created for members. All right? And by the way, this is the vast majority of questions. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of member questions, 1 page of forum questions, and 1 page of Twitter questions. So, if you didn't believe me when I told you guys, hey, becoming a member of DSP Gaming is a ginormous advantage because you get your questions answered on the show, seriously, you're missing out. I mean, I wasn't exaggerating or anything, okay? By the way, and I did want to check on this, I received a $25 tip from 1 Minute Man, and the reason that I wanted to add that early is so that it's more accurate, because you guys can see that we're actually close to hitting some of our goals now. Since I am going to still be here for about another 45 minutes before we even take a break, it would make sense to add this now, okay? So we're currently at $46 in tips, a mere $4 away from hitting our Tier 1 tips goal. And again, you know, I really appreciate if we could hit these goals this week. I need the help dramatically because of all the trolling that I got last month. All right. Our first member question is from Bookworm. And Bookworm asks the following question. If your schedule was free and tips were not a concern at all, what are a few games that you would like to go back to and replay extensively? Well, first of all, one thing that I would like to do one day, I don't know if I'll be able to, I would like to go back at playthroughs that people felt were some of the best I ever did, or games that feel kind of nostalgic because you liked my original playthroughs of them, and replay them for a modern audience. There's tons of games back in the day that I played before I was any kind of an interactive streamer, and even in some cases before I even did direct capture. We're replaying those games in the modern day. I feel those playthroughs would be better. Take a look at my Earthbound playthrough of today compared to the original. I would argue today's playthrough is 10 times better than the original. Seriously. And recently, we've replayed games that have been a lot of fun to replay, and I think I would like to do that at some point. All right? Now, what games would those be? I don't know. I'd have to think about it and really go back into my history. But I'm sure you guys have some of your favorites. You probably think about it. You'd be like, oh, you know, this game in particular is one of my favorites he's played. I would love to see him do that again many years later. So those I would like to do. But in addition to that, I would say Lost Odyssey is an RPG that I played right before I became a YouTuber. Okay? I loved it. It's from the same studio that made Blue Dragon, the same studio that had people from previous Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest game development. What was the name of the studio? I actually forgot the name of it. But this studio was contracted to make a bunch of games for Microsoft. And I really, really liked Lost Odyssey, although it is very difficult. It's Mistwalker. Thank you, HoboX. Yes. The game is very difficult, it's lengthy, and it requires a lot of grinding. So, I always wondered if it would fit into a formula where I could do a playthrough for it, because I was wondering if I would retain an audience, knowing that there's parts of the game that are so hard that you have to go back and grind. There are super bosses I never beat that I would like to beat, and man, it would be great to do that, but again, it might be ultra challenging to do so. But I never had a chance to play it. One day maybe. I would like to, but again, would it be something, when I'm playing bigger games than that, like Earthbound and Final Fantasy VII, and those are tough to retain an audience, you got to wonder about Lost Odyssey and how it would do, right? Another game I want to go back and play, Chrono Trigger. I've only played it once, almost a decade ago. There was no live interaction on my streams, no face cam. I feel like a second playthrough of Chrono Trigger would be outstanding. It would be just super duper fun. So I absolutely would like to do Chrono Trigger at some point. Although right now there's no viable way to do it. You can't even play it on a console right now. Stupid. And now here's a cool one. Here's one that now we are definitely going to do. Suikoden. I've told you guys over the years so many times about the Suikoden series that I loved it. I thought there was a game where you could recruit so many different people to be part of your group, and I felt that it was one of the best JRPGs of the PS1 era. I absolutely loved the games. I played 1 and 2 and loved them. 3 is not so good. 1 and 2 are really, really good games. I always wanted to play them. Okay? Guess what? I never did. There really was no way to viably do it. But next year, it was just announced, the Suikoden 1 and 2 collection, they're redoing the visuals, they're redoing the controls, they're redoing the sound effects, they're redoing a ton of shit. It'll still look like an older game, but it's going to look more like Octopath Traveler than a game from the PS1 era. So, I'm excited. I'm absolutely positively excited for the Suikoden collection next year. Smelly Vision, I feel like I should directly respond to Smelly Vision, who's saying it sounds like I'm not like having issues so much with my allergies today. Number one, the window is open. I have fresh air in the office. And number two, I'm on a new allergy medication, Allegra, and it seems to be doing pretty good. I'm not really getting much at all. It seems pretty good to me today. Maybe it's a rare day. I don't know, but I feel pretty good in that regard. Okay. Our next question is from Wendy420. It says, I have a two-part question. You've been actively involved with gaming across multiple console generations for over a decade. Do you think there will ever be a new console to rival Xbox and PlayStation? And if so, what would the console need to do differently to succeed? No. No. I don't think so. I actually feel now the market is oversaturated. And I feel like if we had another one, it would not do well. Even if it stepped up, I don't think so. I think having the big three, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, that's all the market will bear. I really feel that way strongly. If anything, now that we're seeing that these games can now be streamed over the internet and played pretty favorably. You know, a good example here would be, you know, on PS Plus Premium, we actually played a few of those games like MotorStorm Apocalypse and it was fine. That game was not pre-installed on my PS5. That game was being live streamed over the internet. I wasn't using a console to process it. I think that's the future. I think what's going to end up happening is less consoles. They're going to consolidate almost. And what you have is what you get. And eventually, once the internet advances to be good enough, it'll all be just over the internet. That's what I feel. I think we're getting there. It's going to be a while, maybe another 10, 15 years. But I think that's where we're heading. Just like I told you guys previously. I said to you, hey, guess what? I strongly feel that games are going to now be all digital. There's not going to be discs anymore. And everyone told me, no, there will still be collectors who want them and all this and all that. And I was like, nah, I really don't think so, man. I really don't think it. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm feeling strongly against it. And look what's happened. All the games are now going digital, right? You buy collector's edition of the game, they don't even give you a disc anymore. So that's what I feel. Malcolm, no, I didn't get a tip from you. I just checked. And I see Chocobo Go Pika Pika, 2 anonymous tips, and a tip just came through from Super Mario Sunshine fan. That's what we've got so far today. I don't see one specifically from you. Speaking of which, Super Mario Sunshine fan just hit me $4.20. Says Lost Odyssey would be an awesome playthrough. There's actually an area relatively early on where you can pre-grind easily. By the way, I'm loving your Earthbound playthrough. I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you for the tip. And yeah, so Malcolm, as you can see, the tips are working. And I don't know why yours wouldn't have come through. I even just checked and no, I didn't get one that was blocked or anything like that. I never blocked you to begin with, but I checked and no, nothing like that either. So, okay. No, there was no $1.99 tip. No, there was not. It's Gunnar Glasses time. But yeah, I do not think, oh, it wasn't a $1.99 tip. That was a super chat. Thank you. I'll look at that. There was a super chat I missed. Thank you. I didn't see it. That I can do. All right, now Malcolm's tip came through. $5 tip. He says, I'm pumped for your show. Always a lover of Ask the King. Thank you, Malcolm, for your support. And now the Gunnar Glasses have gone on. Very nice. Thank you, guys. Okay, continuing on. There was a super chat from Dietrich. And he says, crowns up, grays down. That is a reference to members. There you go. I don't know where you guys come up with this terminology. I certainly don't use it. But anyway, thank you for the super chat, Dietrich. All right. Continuing on to our next question. My nose. Our next question is from Christian. Christian asked the following. He says, Phil, I've been a fan of yours since 2010, and I'm wondering, Why do you think some games from Japan get Western releases, but others don't? I feel like some long-lasting franchises will never get a release in the West. I think it's annoying when you just can't play all the games in a series. Why do you think sometimes only a handful of games in a series get Western releases but not others? Thanks for answering. You know, it's interesting because this is very pertinent to something that just happened, okay? As you know, there's this game series called Yakuza here in the States, but internationally it was always called Like a Dragon. That's true. It was always called Like a Dragon. Ryu ga Gotoku. That means like a dragon, right? So, this game series is incredibly popular. It wasn't always. And it was very, very Japan-centric, meaning in Japan it was one of the biggest franchises. Everyone talked about it, played the shit out of it, and they were very apprehensive about bringing it across the ocean to the United States and wondering how it would do. When eventually they did bring it over, it had a cult following, but it never got super popular. But then over time, they started releasing the other games, and it did. It finally caught on. So, you know, we all knew it as Yakuza over here, right? We didn't know that it was actually called Like a Dragon. We didn't know that it was any different in Japan than it was here, but it always was. So come to find out, they've always been doing spin-off series of this game series in Japan, but those games never came to the United States. We didn't even know they existed. I literally had no clue there was a samurai spin-off series. And it's been out for years and very popular in Japan. In Japan, they felt that games that were Japanese-centric would just not do well over here. But then, with the release of a game such as Ghost of Tsushima, the Japanese started looking at it like, wait a minute. That game did really well. And that game's about Japanese culture, and that game didn't even come out from a Japanese studio. An American studio made Ghost of Tsushima. So because we didn't make the game about our own culture, another studio made it, and they got all the prominence from it. Right? They're like, oh, shit. So this company, Ryugo Gotoku, realizes, oh, I guess there is a market for Japanese culture stuff in America. So now they're releasing their game. It was originally called Like a Dragon Ishin, I believe. It's a spin-off game where all the characters from the Yakuza franchise are actually characters in feudal Japan fighting these wars with samurai swords and all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of interesting. And again, this is a game that's old. This is not a game that was, it just came out like a year or two ago. This is an older game that now they're finally porting for modern audiences here and Western audiences. So that's very interesting to me that finally they're kind of changing their tune and they're going to experiment with this and see how it does. But what I think it is that in Japan, they just feel certain things aren't going to catch on. And to some extent, some don't. And some do. But, you know, a lot of games are kind of a dime a dozen these days. How many games are JRPGs with a very anime-ish look, some kind of a cutesy, over-the-top, cartoonish girl character that's like a mascot, and a bunch of magic, and you know what I mean, medieval, or future steampunk instead, but it's all anime-ish looking. There's like a million of those games, right? They're not even unique anymore. There's been so many of them. And it's because in Japan, they're insanely huge. And you might say, well, why are they so big there? Because they're Japanese-centric, and over there, they eat that shit up. We were just talking about Splatoon. Again, in America, is Splatoon big? Well, if you own a Switch, you probably bought Splatoon, or you know someone who did. It's a multiplayer game. If you own a Switch, you're probably going to get it. In Japan, it's literally the biggest selling game they've ever had. It sold the biggest record-breaking sales of any game they've ever sold in history in Japan. Fucking Splatoon? Here we don't think of it like that. You know what I mean? So things are just kind of different over there. And I feel like maybe a lot of the times they don't think that what they think sells there would sell here. And that's why they don't have the same kind of deal. There you go. Thank you, Christian, for the question. Okay. On to page 2. All right. Our first question on page 2 is from Kane's Corner. Kane asked the following. Actually, it's just Kane's Corner asked the following. With all the games that you've played over the last few years, and the fact that companies love to do these remasters as of late, what game from your past would you absolutely love to see remastered for the Xbox Series X, PS5, Switch, etc.? Well, I had to think about this one. And I would say there's 2 franchises, one of which is readily available but definitely looks dated, and another that's not readily available in any modern version. It's just the originals. Okay. The first series would be Infamous. Infamous 1 and 2, and of course, the Festival of Blood DLC for Infamous 1. These are two games that were PS3 era, and they looked great, played great on PS3, okay? But definitely the visuals are dated. You can't get them on other consoles. In fact, the only way to play them is to get the PS Plus Premium service and stream them. You can't download them, you have to stream them, all right? I would like to see those games remade with more modernized graphics, better lighting effects, more atmospheric effects in the game, because the lighting effects were really good on PS3. Can you imagine what they would look like on PS5? Okay, maybe sell them as a collection, the infamous modern collection, right? And here's the thing. If that collection sold well, they could use that as evidence that Infamous should continue, because Infamous Second Son undersold. They put a lot of time and effort into it. And honestly, why did it undersell? Was it the gameplay? No. Was it the graphics? No. It was the story. The main character just wasn't interesting. He was kind of boring. And you didn't have the appeal of Cole McGrath in the first two games. You had no investment in the character. So you didn't really care. He was more of a whiny asshole than anything else. He was not very likable. So that's why I didn't feel like the game really did that well. I definitely feel like if they redid this original collection and it sold a lot, it would say, oh, wow, we should make another Infamous, and then we could have the franchise kind of start again. I liked Infamous. I'm sad that it disappeared the way it did, okay? So I'd definitely say that. And then the other thing I would say is Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, but with modernized graphics, because those games are now available on Xbox Series X at 60 frames, and that's about it. They don't look good. The graphics are still very outdated. I would like to see them completely upgraded from the ground up, like redesigned graphical engine with modern lighting and detail and everything redone. I think that would be pretty cool, because one of the shortcomings of playing those games is, man, those games looked better when they came out because we didn't have these great graphics back then. So now you watch them and you're like, shit, it's 60 frames per second, but man, those graphics look terrible, right? The characters look horrible. They're hideous. Give me better looking, more realistic characters, you know, more graphical effects and things, make the game look and sound better, redo some of the sounds. I would love that. There you go. Okay. Continuing on. The next question is from Clyde Baxter. He says, is there anything you truly miss about streaming on Twitch? And I think there was another question too, similar. And if there is, I want to answer them both at once. Hold on a second. I think there were two that were almost the same question. Hold on. Maybe it was a Twitter question. Maybe not. All right. So, watch me find it in 5 seconds. So, Clyde says, is there anything you truly miss about streaming on Twitch? Yes. There's quite a few things that I miss about streaming on Twitch. All right. Number one, an intuitive chat that's easy to use and carries stuff over to other chatters, right? One of the big features on Twitch is when you become a paid subscriber of someone, you can use their emotes on someone else's channel. Because on YouTube, there is no chat room. What you are talking in right now if you're watching live, or what you're commenting on now if you're commenting on this video on demand, is a list of comments. That's it. It may look like a chat room, but it is not. It is an individual list of comments. And since emotes only apply to the things on that individual channel, when you become a member here, you can't use your emotes on someone else's channel. That appealed to some people on Twitch, and it doesn't. Okay, here on YouTube. I miss that. I miss channel points in a huge way. Channel points we only had for a few months, and in the couple months that I used them, we implemented so many fun new events, right? We had Call of Duty streams where it was based solely on wagering of channel points to see, will Phil get this many kills in a set amount of time? Will he use this weapon and do this? In Super Mario Marathon I did, can I beat a stage in this amount of tries, this amount of lives in a 30-second time frame? That was really neat. We had a ton of fun with those channel point challenges, and they just completely went away when I lost my partnership on Twitch, because Twitch is unprofessional and a bunch of fuck faces. So, excuse me. I definitely miss channel points. I wish that we had a way to do that. Sadly, there's no way to implement that on YouTube right now. I looked into it. The things that people try to do here, they don't work. You have a bot in the chat that manually tallies up people's points based on the amount they chat. and then they try to get their point total, and it's bad. Just put it that way. It's just not a good system. Okay. Okay. I miss discoverability. Right now, on YouTube, if you want to see someone streaming the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 beta, and this weekend I'm playing it on Xbox Series X, and you type in streams of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 beta, good luck finding mine. I mean it, like good luck. It will never come up. YouTube's algorithm sucks ass. It just has so many things in it that's bullshit. It's so hard to get noticed on YouTube for streaming. All right? Now, good news is, because, by the way, Jasper's laying on the capture device again. If you hear a USB sound, that's what it is. Because we're in a situation here where I've been around for 14 years. I have enough of a viewer base that knows about me that will come check out my stuff, and I don't have to worry about, oh, no one can find my streams. All right? Thank goodness. But it sucks because on Twitch, you had discoverability. On Twitch, someone would type in, oh, the hot new game's out. Let me find a streamer. They'd find you right away. You get a bunch of new viewers who've never seen your stuff before. It was easy to be discovered. It was. And it's just ridiculous that they want people to come here and stream, but they won't do anything to make your streams findable or discoverable on YouTube. It's just dumb. It's like they're missing a whole feature. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would I want to stream if no one can find me? And then, of course, this is a huge one. Amazon Prime versus YouTube Premium. Amazon Prime. When you have Amazon Prime, you get free shipping from Amazon.com, you get access to Amazon Video, and you get a free Amazon Prime membership. It's called a Twitch Prime membership to gift to someone once a month. It's a free membership. I had a lot of those over on Twitch. There is absolutely no excuse that YouTube does not take their YouTube Premium service and add in a free membership to that once a month. Because YouTube Premium is great. You don't have to see any ads whatsoever on YouTube. You have the ability to save videos in a watch later playlist. It'll actually download the videos offline to your device, and then when you don't have internet later, you can still watch them. Okay? There's a lot of cool benefits. One of the really cool things, you can line up a bunch of videos in a playlist. Okay? Have the YouTube app set up, play the playlist, minimize the videos, and still listen. So essentially, YouTube becomes a music player for you. Pretty fucking neat. I love that too. There's a lot of good features in YouTube Premium for sure. But the fact that they have not added in the free membership is ridiculous. It would literally cost them nothing. They're not losing anything by doing it, and it would benefit streamers a ton. I don't know why they don't. That's another big lost opportunity. So, yeah, I would say the channel points, discoverability, carryover of emotes from channel to channel. All right. The YouTube, the Twitch Prime subs. Man, there's so much, right? Just think of all the things we just mentioned. And now there's one final thing I will say. All right. Here on YouTube, I get consistent support from my viewer base, and I absolutely appreciate it. But I do miss those moments. We used to have those, oh my God, jaw-dropping what the fuck moments on Twitch when someone would go crazy one day and do like a giant cheer or, a giant tip, you know what I'm saying? Or a ginormous bomb of gifted subs. Those were fun, right? And they were very common on Twitch. It's not common on YouTube when that happens. And I'm not complaining. I get consistent support from my viewer base every day. So it's not a big deal that we don't get that. But man, you remember over on Twitch, you would get those giant things that would happen. You'd be like, whoa, a humongous tip, a giant cheer. Oh my God, 100 people just got a sub or whatever. And it just seemed it would happen a lot over there. And here, since I came here, it just doesn't happen that often. All right. But that's just me being honest. I'm sure you guys can think of a bunch of other things that are lacking here on YouTube from when I streamed on Twitch, right? There you go. An anonymous $2 tipper says Deathloop has been added to Game Pass and PS Plus Premium. Do you think with the game you're not sure you'll enjoy or that'll be any good, or you'll wait for it to come to Game Pass Plus to help save money? It seems like two completely separate statements. The first statement is Deathloop was just added to Game Pass and PS Plus Premium. Okay. Do you think with games that you're not sure that you'll enjoy or that'll be any good, you'll wait for it to come to Game Pass or PS Plus to help save money? It's completely different. Yeah. Weird. Anyway, in regards to that, what I would say is today I do have to be more careful about the games that I buy outright. You know, dropping 60, 70 bucks on a game that people end up not liking. You know, I have to basically try to get stuff that I know people are going to enjoy. And yeah, things are tighter today. I literally just told you guys I lost $1,000 this month that I normally would make because of trolling with the false copyright strikes. You know, I lost 300 members. That's bullshit. And now things are much tighter now for me on a monthly basis because of this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm tight on a lot of things, and I got a penny pinch and I got a cut here. I used to have more flexibility. It used to be like, there's a new game coming out, you have no idea if it's good or not, I'll just buy it on a whim and play it, right? I can't do that anymore. Definitely, Game Pass, PS Plus Premium, etc. makes it possible to try out a ton of new games that I definitely wouldn't have bought because I either can't afford them or they're a risk, right? How many games in the last year on just under Game Pass alone did we try out and we're like, holy shit, this was really good, and I'm glad that I tried it. Right now I'm playing two. I'm playing Bassmaster and I'm playing Disney Dreamlight Valley. I rest my case. The Game Pass has been tremendous in this way. So, yeah. I would say yes, I have to be more conservative in the games that I buy. And yes, I'll be trying more games out that are under Game Pass, etc. because they are free. There you go. Good? Good. Okay, moving on. Project Hail Mary says, what exactly goes into the YouTube algorithm? I know it's not good to dwell on past actions. Do you regret making 10-minute videos back in the day? I know a lot of people had to unsubscribe because their inbox was getting spam from the amount of content that you put out. I also was one of those people, but I resubscribed after I noticed longer videos coming in. As always, I love your content and appreciate everything. If there was a definitive, 100% transparent way that the YouTube algorithm worked, it would be a double-edged sword. Because if everyone knew exactly how it worked, people who are greedy would abuse it. Let's be honest here. There's people out there, they don't care about the quality of what they put out. They don't care about anything except making $1. So the day that, here's the magic formula of how to get your video prominent on YouTube. Boom. Immediately, you would see people taking advantage and whoa, insane popularity and money based on it. Okay. Here's what I can tell you. All right. From what I've noticed being here over the years. There's a certain algorithm that catches a certain way, and it has to do with the way your video is presented. It has to do with all kinds of factors, all right? One weird thing that I've noticed, and I know this sounds dumb, but I absolutely to this day believe it's true, is that if you create a new channel on YouTube, all right, and you abide by certain criteria, and you happen to get a video that catches the algorithm, that video can make your channel popular for a while just based on the algorithm. And as long as that viewership keeps coming into the new channel, you can kind of at least semi-retain it. However, at one point, YouTube channels become not so prominent in the algorithm anymore. And even if you continue to make the same kind of content, it just doesn't get featured anymore. All right? So an example here would be DSPGaming is not featured in the YouTube algorithm at all. Maybe I'll show up in related results every once in a while. Maybe I'll be a recommended video once in a blue moon. But YouTube is not viewing DSPGaming as a prominent YouTube channel. I've been around since 2010. My channel video length went from 10 minutes to 15 to 30 to an hour. All right. That's all big changes. My videos went from having no thumbnails to thumbnails. My videos went from having very abridged titles to very detailed titles. My videos went from having one style of one style of tags to another style of tags, okay? All this has changed over the years, okay? And the algorithm also has changed. There was a time when the YouTube algorithm favored longer videos. So, for example, if I was playing Call of Duty and I only played it in 10-minute increments, someone who's making a 30-minute increment video will get featured over me because their video was longer and had what YouTube considered longer engagement times. Yeah, but that changed over the years too, okay? There's a lot of things you can do to get your videos to try to hit the algorithm, and there's people who try a lot and fail, okay? One other thing about the algorithm you gotta be careful of is the negative side of it. Because if your video gets flagged for any of the dastardly deeds that you can do on YouTube, okay, meaning they feel that the video is exploitative of children, the video has gambling, the video has excessive gore or sexual content, the video has excessive adult language, the video, I mean, I could keep going, but there's like these factors that happen that if that hits the algorithm, not only will your video get flagged, but your whole channel may be blacklisted from YouTube as well. Yeah. So basically, yeah, it's pretty weird, this YouTube algorithm. I wish I could sit here with you and explain to you exactly how it works, but no one knows how it works because it changes on the fly, and YouTube, I guess, feels if they told everyone how it really worked, then people would abuse it. Here's what I've discovered, okay? Engagement is key. When you put out a video, if that video gets likes or dislikes, views, and other kinds of clicks of any kind, that helps the video. If that video has a thumbnail of a certain style, you may have noticed the vast majority of YouTubers who do this for a living have a thumbnail where their face looks like this on it, or you know, it's a certain like over-exaggerated style thumbnail. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, that gets people to click on it more, and it makes it be favored in the algorithm for some odd reason. I don't know why people are that dumb, but they are. They think that one thumbnail style is prominent and it's gonna, you know, and it works. People will do it. It's just really stupid. There's various things you can put. People used to abuse YouTube tags. It was so ridiculous. You can put things in your tags that had nothing to do with your video. So when people search for like, let's say there was something in the news today. Let's say, so Queen Elizabeth II just passed, rest in peace. Someone will put out a new video and be like, oh, here's the new graphics card of NVIDIA was announced. And in the tags, they would put Queen Elizabeth II passing, rest in peace. And people searching for Queen Elizabeth, their video would pop up. All right? I don't think that works anymore. In fact, tags apparently don't even work at all anymore. When you put a tag on your video, it does nothing. Now YouTube goes purely off of what you put in the title. So that's another thing for the algorithm. You have to have a catchy title with as many descriptors in the title as possible, because that's what people are finding when they search, not what's in your tags of your video anymore. So, I mean, there's a million things, okay? There's a million things that you could do. And personally, I don't care. I'm just being honest. I know some of them I could employ right now. I don't care. I put out a certain style of content for a certain audience and a certain viewer base that likes it. I'm not looking to have my content break into the mainstream and get millions of views. I've been there, done that. I did that back in the day with certain gameplay styles. I did that with KO Gaming in 2016 with a certain review style. I know I could do it right now if I wanted to. But I don't want to be that clickbaity, absolutely ridiculous drama queen kind of content creator. That is still to this day what is prominent on YouTube. It's sad that it is, but you know, that's what hits that algorithm and gets everything noticed, and I don't want to do that. So, okay, Haseo X5. By the way, Haseo, your name is Haseo X5, right? It's not Haziox 5, is it? Just let me know how to pronounce your name. But anyway, here's their question. Good afternoon, Phil. When the God of War Ragnarok release dates were coming, everyone was excited. Everyone wanted more information about the collector's editions of the game. But there was one major thing about them that was kind of in question. The collector's editions were not going to be with a physical copy of the game included. Instead, you would just get a digital code to download the game. So my question to you is this. Do you believe this is a smart move on their part? Do you see other developers or game studios adopting this method? If so, what could this mean moving forward for those wanting to having the actual copy of the game versus a digital copy? Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to answer this question as matter-of-factly as possible. Please listen. All right? It's very important. Ladies and gentlemen, The year is 2022, and it is official that outside of Nintendo games, which I would say are an exception to the rule, ladies and gentlemen, you ready for this one? You can't buy physical copies of games anymore. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. People want to keep talking about it and acting like you can. It does not exist. I'm serious. And people right now are probably freaking out saying, what are you talking about? Right now, I could drive to my local Walmart. I could drive to Target. I could drive to GameStop. I could drive to Best Buy. I could drive to a store. And I could buy a physical game and come home with it. Wrong. It's completely incorrect. That's not true at all. Back in the day, that was true. It's bullshit. All you're doing is you're buying the digital license to that game, going home, and installing the game just like anyone else who just does it from their console. You're not buying anything extra. That disc is a coaster. That box is a fucking collectible. All you're doing is getting an added collectible that has zero value. There's no value to buying that game. Okay, there's not. This ended years ago, but people still want to believe that they're buying the game physically. You are not. You don't own the game. You own a right to a license of the game. That's it. You don't own the game. You didn't buy it. You don't have it. Right now, if you go to the store and you buy Splatoon 3, I take that back because I said not Nintendo. Nintendo's a different case, so we'll talk about that in a second. What's another hot game that just came out that's on a disc? The Last of Us Part 1. All right, there you go. The Last of Us Part 1. You go to the store. You buy the game. You bring it home. You put it in your PS5. What's the first thing that happens? Connect to the internet. Download the game. You don't have it. You can't play the game off the disc. You don't have the game. Most games only have a few basic game files on the disc. And then you're downloading the rest of the game. Plus all the day one patches. Plus all the updates. And plus any improvements or things. You're downloading the whole game. You should have just stayed at home and got it off the internet to begin with. You wasted your time going to the store. Now, in a very weird, odd twist, yes, you can still resell those physical games and unlike getting it digitally, okay, when you buy a physical game, which is not a physical game, what you're getting is a physical license as opposed to a digital license. So if you buy The Last of Us Part 1 digitally, whatever account you bought it under, that's what you have it forever. You can't give that license to someone else. It'll always be under your account on PlayStation Network. If you go and you buy the physical disc of The Last of Us Part 1, your license is in your hand, you see? But that's still not the game. That's just your license. The game is not on that disc, okay? So, here's the thing that gets me about this, all right? When you buy Collector's Edition, I want God of War Collector's Edition, okay? Great, good for you, buy it. It's going to have all these cool collectibles or whatever. You're doing it because you're a collector, right? You're probably buying it because you want all kinds of nice things. You don't, like, the game itself will be the same. Whether you buy it digitally, whether you buy it in that Collector's Edition, whether you buy the Standard Edition, you're still playing the same game. You didn't buy a different game. It's the same license, right? If you're a collector, all right, and you buy the Collector's Edition of God of War Ragnarok, and you're a hardcore fan, are you ever going to trade that game in? Probably not. The whole point is you want the game to be part of your collection. That's why you wanted the physical disc to begin with. So why does it matter if it's a disc or just a code to download the game, as long as you got the Collector's Edition with all the other stuff you wanted? Why does that matter? That disc is not the playable game, right? If it was, you put it in your PS5, it would still say downloading before you could play it. You don't have the game on the disc. There's no, you see what I'm saying? So if you wanted to, and you had the disc, you could trade it in, but how many collectors out there would do that? Probably none. I was the exception to the rule back in the day. When I was doing this for a living 10 years ago, 13 years ago, I would buy the Collector's Edition, play the shit out of it, all right? Beat it within a few days. But the value added to the collector's edition is I did a release day unboxing video showing you everything that came in it. And then a lot of the times that stuff would be part of my setup behind me that would then be on camera. So I got extra value out of it. But the game, once I beat the game, I traded it right back in. Yeah, so I got some value back out of it. Most collectors are not going to do that. All right, so the difference here is get the game digitally and it's tied to your account permanently forever, or get the game physically on a disc and it's not even the game, but that license is tied to the disc rather than your account, and now that license can be traded around and resold. All right, and again, over a decade ago, when I traded those games in, they had tons of value. Today, they have almost none. If you bought God of War Ragnarok at launch and you try to trade it in there 2 weeks later, they're going to give you $15 for it. That's how these places are. They're not giving you big value anymore. Back in the day, I would buy a new game, plus 2 more, beat them within 2 weeks, trade them in 3 at a time, and get $40 back for each. So I basically did extended rental. It was amazing. Today, you barely get anything back. So it's super duper wasteful, right? Especially if you're someone who has to now drive to a store, wait in line to get the game, and bring it home, you know? So that's the thing. Here, let's go back to the case of the God of War Ragnarok. If you're a collector, right, and you want a bunch of things to remember this game by, then you probably want a statue, maybe a map, maybe an art book, soundtrack, the game physically. All right, give me a nice box with box art or whatever, but that's for the benefit of those who actually want that as a collectible. There's no benefit to buying the game physically. You see what I'm saying? But here's where I can see the argument. You wanted it as a collectible, and you didn't get that collectible. You basically feel like you got ripped off because you didn't get the collectible you wanted, right? That I can understand. But you got to understand that when you're buying that game physically, you don't even have the game yet. You still have to connect to the internet. You still got to download all the updates for it before you can even play it. That's not the real game. Most of these games don't even boot anymore. They just don't. You can't just put a disc in your console and play it. That was ages ago. Ages ago. So there you go. Anyway, so that being said, I can see both sides. Is it a huge deal that doesn't have the game disc in it if you bought the collector's edition? No. But I think the issue here isn't, I wanted the game to trade it in or whatever. I just wanted the fucking game as a collectible. And I paid extra for your collector's edition. You didn't give me the collectible that a collector would want in your collector's edition. It's supposed to be a collector's edition. And you're not letting me collect the disc. So I can get that. That I get. That part I get. But people who are arguing again, I own the game, it's on the disc, and I didn't get the disc. That's baloney. That's just stupid. That's a dumb argument. But if you want to tell me you wanted it as a collectible, then there's an argument there. Okay? All right. I think we have time. Hold on. Do we have time for one more? We do have time for one more before I take my break. However, there's a couple shout outs here for Snorlax King, who's here and did 2 super chats. Snorlax King says, companies not including the disc and a physical collector's edition is the scummiest of scum. I hate the practice with all of my heart because it's cheap. And they did a second super chat. He says, if I'm spending my money on an expensive collector's edition, I better get everything, including a physical copy of the game. Don't cheap out. I'll go a step further. All right? What if, instead of just getting the game on a disc, you get a cool collector's item? Like, it's a box, you open it, and the disc is freaking gold-plated or some shit. Like, back in the day, I know this sounds dumb, because I agree with you this was dumb. Back in the day, you would go and you would buy a comic book. In the 90s, when comic books were still physical and you could buy them and they were valuable. You could buy the regular edition. You could buy the special edition that had like a hologram on the cover and it cost more. And then you could buy, get this, the super ultra rare, only 100 ever made, gold foil plated cover edition. Is the comic book different on the inside? It's literally identical, but the cover's slightly different. It's super expensive now because it's rare, right? Why not sell them like that? Why not have a super ultra rare version of the game? The boxes, if you open it, the game has cool, a hologram on the game or fucking... Why not treat it like what it is, an item for collectors now? Because the normal person is probably not caring about having the physical disc anymore, but those who are collectors do. Maybe they'll even pay the premium for the special version that looks cool. That's what they did in the 90s with comic books. Okay, thank you, Snorlax King. Let's get that on the leaderboard for those 2 super chats. By the way, I am feeling so nice and cool today because it's fall. The weather outside's cooler. Even though the sun's out, I have my window all the way open. And this is a nice, relaxing stream right now. I'm really enjoying the turning of the weather. This is excellent. Okay. One final quick question, and then we're going to take a break. This question is from Bill Profit. And he says, why do you only focus on FromSoftware games? There's many companies out there trying their hand at Soul-likes. Steel Rising is a decent game. If anything, it's worth a try, especially on Game Pass. I'm just saying to give them a chance. All games always have a good story to tell. I love FromSoft, and I've beaten Elden Ring. It's my first Souls-like game I even beat. Keep up the awesome work. I think you just said it. You just explained it as well as you possibly could because it's a Souls-like. It's exactly right. It's a Souls-like. For me, if I want to play a Soulsborne game, I will play a Soulsborne game. I'll play Dark Souls 1, 2, or 3, Demon Souls, all right, or Bloodborne, or Sekiro, or Elden Ring. There's a ton of these. Okay? There's a ton of these games. And, for example, I own Elden Ring, and I told you guys I absolutely want to do a New Game Plus run for when they release DLCs, because you know they're releasing DLCs. Don't fool yourself, even though they haven't announced it yet. They're absolutely working on them. It sold so much, they absolutely want to make tons of money on this game. It would be stupid if they didn't. All right? So I need to do a New Game Plus run to at least get a character build working or whatever, so when this DLC comes out, I'm in shape to get to it. All right? So, in the last month, I'm not kidding you, there were 3 Souls-likes that had come out. All right? I remember 2 of them. One's Thymesia, and one was this Steel Rising. There was actually a third, all right? But I remember those 2. Now, why should I play the knockoff? The game that you know is inferior, the game that you know will not live up to the quality of FromSoft. It may be a little different. It may have something unique here or there. It's a little interesting, but it's not FromSoft. Why play the knockoff when you can play the real? I just never understood that. And people are like, you missed Mortal Shell, and you missed, Code Vein, and you missed this and that. And I'm like, okay, so what happened that was absolutely must play in those games that I missed out on, right? How many of those Souls-likes are Game of the Year contenders? They are pale comparisons to the real games. So why care, right? Just being honest. I'm not going to play a bunch of knockoffs when I know the real games are there and they're better. I'll just play them. If you want to see me do a New Game Plus run in Sekiro, I'll do it. If you want to see Elden Ring again, I'll do it. You want to see a challenge run in an old Dark Souls game, I'll do it. But I'm not going to play the knockoff. There's no point. I don't want to play the cheesy knockoff. I just don't care about it. Sorry, I just don't. I think FromSoft is prominent enough and makes enough games that I don't need to play their knockoffs. Now listen to me. There's nothing wrong with playing them. If you want to play them because you like that genre, go for it. And there are actual content creators who literally will play every one of them, right? Because they're known as the Soulsborne streamers. They play these games 10, 20 times when they come out, challenge runs, specialty builds and all of that. Then the other game comes out, the spin-off. Oh, let me play that. The DLC comes out, let me play that. Oh, the knockoff comes out, I'll play that. Fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not me. Do I like FromSoft games? Yes. Do I like them enough to play them multiple times? Yes. Do I like them enough to play games that are not them, but are obviously your rip-offs? No. I guess that's your answer. And what's funny is Zebra says, are you not playing Multiverses, a Smash knockoff? I'm playing Multiverses. Is it a Smash knockoff? I don't even know, because I didn't like Smash that much to play it enough to tell you. I can tell you this, I like Multiverses. I like it more than any Smash I played. I'm serious. So therefore, I will play Multiverses, and if you say it's a knockoff, I'll believe you. But this is a case where I didn't really play the original that much. I don't mind playing the knockoff because I like it better. So there you have it. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for our first break. Remember, this is a 3-hour show. This part was about a little over an hour. So we're going to break this up. I think what I will do is the next video will be the rest of the show. I don't think I'm going to do more than 2 videos this time around. Or maybe I will. We'll see how my voice is doing. But let's take a brief break. This will be, no exaggeration, a short one. If you're watching on stream, maybe 5 to 10 minutes long tops. It's not a long break. I just want to rest my voice a little bit, probably use the restroom. If you're watching this on demand on DSPGaming here on YouTube, there'll be another video for parts 2 and or 3 if there's a part 3. Okay? Guys, thank you so much. Hope you're enjoying the show. I'll be back shortly with lots more questions. Awesome.